Good evening, everyone. My name is Elizabeth, the Education Coordinator for Marlene's Market in Delhi. Tonight's, tonight's special guest that we have with us, and is always an honor to work with, we have Ariane Chenard. She is an Ayurveda health counselor and has many other credentials, and works with Puget Sound Family Health, and also owns her own business and is speaking on the topic of Ayurvedic secrets to hormone balance, unlocking inner harmony and vitality. Thank you so much, Ariane, for joining us.
Thank you, Elizabeth. I'll share. Oh, I can't share my screen at the moment. Okay. Here we go. Can you all see that? Great. Well, thank you everyone for being here for this presentation on hormone balance, balancing hormone using Ayurveda. My name is Ariane Chenard, Ariane, you can call me Ariane, and I am an Ayurveda health counselor and also a clinical Ayurvedic herbalist. You can find me at Puget Sound Family Health in downtown Tacoma or through my website, elementsofayurveda.com. I offer one-on-one consultations, and also I have a program, different programs. I focus a lot on digestive issues. That's my specialty, but Ayurveda being the holistic approach to health that it is, I work with any issues with my client. It's a holistic approach. You are at the right place and for this presentation. If you have symptoms that confuse you, and you suspect your hormones might be out of balance, or you have been told that your hormones are out of balance, what does that mean? Or you simply want to know more about hormones and how to balance them naturally using Ayurveda. The plan of the presentation, I will talk about hormone, and I must admit it's gonna stay superficial in the sense that it is such a complex subject. There are hundreds of hormones, and I believe we are just touching the tip of the iceberg in understanding hormones, and I do not have a PhD in hormones, and I don't think that's the plan today. But I'm hoping to do a good overview. We'll focus a little bit more on the woman's reproductive cycle, because that's one way that we can see hormone imbalance when hormones fluctuate, such as in puberty or through a woman's reproductive cycle. And we'll talk about a few issues. Also, the importance of managing stress is such an important topic when we talk about hormonal balance, and how that stress is involved also in thyroid troubles, and thyroid, what it functions, and how it can be affected. Finally, the goal of this presentation, how Ayurveda can help, and can help every individual differently. And we'll conclude, and I'll take some questions. So what are hormones, first of all? Well, hormones are chemical messengers that are made from, that come from glands around the body, and also different organs. And here we have a few examples. So it's really molecules, and they travel through your bloodstream and go all over the body and attach to receptors on different cells or different organs, and will send signals. There's hundreds of hormones. They will send their little message that can send a message to create another hormone to send another message, or grow tissue, increase temperature, deal with digestion. Like basically every processes in your body have hormones involved. It's I've read it described as an orchestra with many instruments, musical instruments, and when everything is balanced, it makes a beautiful symphony. But if something becomes imbalanced, if the violins decide to go on their own and accelerate the beat, or the cymbals go randomly, like instead of a symphony, you get a cacophony, and that's hormone. Like they work, and your body is this incredible thing that try to maintain balance and homeostasis. But sometimes if something goes out of balance, then it starts a chain of events. But hormones fluctuate. They fluctuate during the day, during your life, because of changes in circumstances, pregnancy being a good example, great change of hormones, or puberty as well. And they are affected by your diet, lifestyle, environment, and also other hormones. You might have heard of a few of these hormones, the most common that we hear of, and I will talk about some of them. Reproductive hormones, estrogen, progesterone, testosterone. And even though testosterone is understood as a male hormone, women still have it. It's implicated in muscle mass and bone density and things like that. Thyroid stimulating hormone is this hormone that is produced by the pituitary gland. So there's the hypothalamus, and we'll see a graph about that. Hypothalamus is a gland in the brain, sends a signal to the pituitary gland that is just under, sends a TSH hormone, and that's going to stimulate the thyroid, which is in your throat, to produce T3 and T4 hormones, and this affects metabolism. Cortisol and adrenaline are both hormones that are made from in the adrenals, which are glands on top of the kidneys. And cortisol on a normal basis is used in regulating metabolism and immunity. And adrenaline is something that you don't necessarily have on a daily basis, but if there's a shock or something, it really helps you respond to a stressful situation. Insulin comes from the pancreas, is made with the pancreas makes insulin and helps with blood sugar control. Melatonin comes from the pineal gland, straight in the middle of your brain, and has to do with your circadian rhythms, your 24 hours internal clock, and sleep patterns, etc. And ghrelin and leptins are other hormones that will regulate appetite and are involved in digestion. And these are just examples. So here we have the endocrine system with some of the glands in the brain, hypothalamus, pineal, pituitary, the thyroid and parathyroid in the throat. It's not indicated, but we have a thymus on the chest, which is very big for infants, a bit smaller for adults. Mammary glands for women when it's time for producing breast milk. Adrenal on top of the kidneys, the pancreas, the female reproductive hormone come from the ovaries, oviduct, and the male reproductive hormones come from testes and prostate. And also there's hormones that are made from organs. So bones produce hormones, adipose tissue produce hormone, kidneys, liver, gut, placenta when a woman is pregnant. And it is my belief that we don't know half of what's going on. Like we will keep learning more about hormones, but all this is to understand that everything that happens in your body, hormones are involved. And they come from everywhere, basically, mostly from glands, but from all over your body. And they travel all over your body and send signals that make things work as they should. They are fluctuating, as I mentioned, but if someone is balanced, has balanced hormone, like you should not have any indication of this fluctuation basically. Like your life should be just balanced and peaceful, but in certain periods of time that's more obvious, such as puberty, when all of a sudden like hormones starts rushing into children that are becoming teenagers and on the way to become adults. And also during a woman's reproductive cycle, every month there's a big fluctuation in hormones, and perimenopause and menopause as well. It's some times of high fluctuation. And that's in these cases that if there are imbalances, symptoms will be much more visible. There could be too much or too little of a hormone, and hormones will affect one another. So if there's too little of one, well, the ratio will appear to be too much of a certain hormone. And there's such an impact hormone to hormone that it really, like if some hormone has increased, can affect so many more. And since they are involved in basically all the processes in your body, the signs of imbalance are very numerous and very varied. And that's why people might not be really understanding what's going on, because maybe they have digestive issues, but with depression, with mind thing, and gaining weight and having trouble sleeping, there could be so mixed signals because of hormonal imbalance. So things with the mind, like mood swings, irritability, depression, anxiety, and especially like there are external factors. If you have a trauma, you might have that, and it's not necessarily related to hormones. But if you notice that every time during the month, at precise time in your cycle, there's something like you have anxiety or depression or things like that, there's a strong indication that hormones are involved. Insomnia, like you can't sleep, or on the other end of the spectrum, you can't wake up, like you have no energy, or concerning the woman's reproductive system, heavy or painful periods, irregular or scanty period, infertility, hot flashes during menopause. All these are signs of hormonal imbalance, because technically a cycle should be a non-event. We'll talk about that a little bit more. Acne and skin issues, weight gain, weight loss, low libido, headaches, especially if they come in relation to a cycle, a woman's cycle, and also things that we would not necessarily think are related to hormones, but things like high cholesterol and fluctuating blood sugar levels can be also related to hormonal imbalance. Let's tackle a little bit women's reproductive cycle. So this symphony of hormones is very present every month in women's life, from the time of puberty until time of menopause. There are different hormones that go up and down along the cycle, and the cycle is considered the first day of menstruation until the first day of the next menstruation. And there's two phases, the follicular phase and the luteal phase. The follicular phase is when the egg in the ovary is maturing with FSH hormones that makes the egg mature. And ovulation is about halfway at 14 days in a 28-day cycle. And LH hormone will make the egg, okay, it's time to go out and travel through the oviduct towards the placenta, the uterus. And everything is ready for a potential pregnancy. So in the follicular phase, while the egg is maturing, there's an increase in level of estrogen, and the estrogen is a fertility hormone that sends a signal for the body to grow the endometrium, the layer inside the uterus, to make comfortable and well vascularized layer in the uterus in case the egg is being fertilized for the embryo to implant. And after the ovulation, levels of estrogen drop significantly, and they will go up a little bit after, but not, they will go down completely if there's no pregnancy. And as the level of estrogen go down, because now the endometrium has been built, progesterone takes its place. And the progesterone is a hormone of pregnancy. Estrogen is more like fertility, getting things ready. Progesterone is a hormone to keep things as they are, like to maintain the endometrium in case of fertilization and implantation of the embryo. And these hormones are different and have different effect on your body. Estrogen is more of a cold hormone. Progesterone is a bit warmer, so body temperature will vary throughout the cycle. Also, estrogen is has a relation with serotonin in the brain, which is kind of a hormone of well-being. So if you feel very depressed mid-cycle when the estrogen level go down, that's a sign of possible estrogen imbalance. And progesterone, same thing. It's a hormone that makes you feel good as well. And when it drops towards the time of menstruation, that could be an indication as well. Like you could have some mental, like anxiety and depression and things like that. There are different issues that can be associated with, depending on levels of hormones, estrogen in ratio to progesterone, etc. But what you have to understand, and what our society has us believe, is that so many of symptoms that women experience are just normal. Like, yeah, women experience all sorts of PMS, and that's what it should be, but it's not, it shouldn't be. Like, if everything is balanced, the whole cycle should really, like a woman should not go through a roller coaster of emotion throughout their cycle. There should not be like big symptoms or like feeling completely depressed at some point or having big digestive issues. When hormones are balanced, the cycle should be regular and the flow should be moderate without huge symptoms. Estrogen and progesterone affect the mind. They also affect digestion. For example, progesterone is a hormone that loosens everything. It's kind of in preparation. If you become pregnant, there's progesterone levels will stay high. Everything comes a bit more loose in the anticipation of a baby having to get out at the end of the pregnancy, and smooth muscles are more relaxed, and this can affect like peristalsis and digestion, for example. So that can be why there's constipation or all sorts of issue, like there can be related. But all these symptoms, you might have a little bit of them, and yeah, things change, your body goes through fluctuations, but when it's excessive, it's not something that is normal. A few conditions that can appear, so heavy and painful periods would be related to, in Ayurveda, we would consider a Pitta Kapha condition. So there's a lot of blood and a lot of tissue, like there's high estrogen. It's related to high estrogen. So the endometrium has been built more than it needs. And then there's a lot of blood, like, or heavy flow. On the opposite side, there's scanty, irregular periods. That could be a sign of low estrogen. The endometrium is not being built. And from the Ayurvedic point of view, it's a vata depletion. There's missing something. PCOS, polycystic ovary syndrome. I'm kind of a, yeah, PCOS is a Yeah, I have a little blank there. In Ayurveda, it's not quite clear. There's kapha involved because there's all these cysts that appear. Uh, and when we talked about hormones, it's a high estrogen and high testosterone condition. And endometriosis is when the lining of the uterus, the endometrium, finds its way outside of the uterus and attaches like little bits of it on organs in the abdominal cavity. And of course, when the levels of estrogen and progesterone go down and the menstruation happen and there's bleeding, there's also bleeding outside of the uterus and it has nowhere to go. And it creates inflammation and scar tissue, and it's really, really painful. From the Ayurvedic point of view, it's a Vata Pitta condition. So there's Pitta because the blood is involved, and Vata also because there's movement outside of where it's supposed to be. Spotting and irregular period would be due to low progesterone. As the level of estrogen lowers mid-cycle, if the progesterone levels are not high enough, progesterone is what keeps the endometrium, well, there's going to be a bit of spotting mid-cycle. If it's more random throughout the cycle, it could be due to fibroids, so that would need to be checked out. But low progesterone is also associated to miscarriages, because you need progesterone to maintain the endometrium. What causes hormonal imbalance? Why would we have like too much estrogen or too little of this and that? Well, there's many causes, and some of them we do have power over. We live in a toxic world, unfortunately, and we live a lot of stress, but we can still do a lot of things to maintain balance with our body and to maintain good health. So toxins in food and environment, especially endocrine disruptors. So I showed you little molecules, hormone molecules that go around and attach to receptors. Well, in all the chemical products, the plastic, etc., there are these chemical molecules that mimic hormones and might go and attach themselves to these receptors and possibly make them unavailable to the real hormone and send other signals, etc. So that's really problematic. There could be also toxicity in lifestyle. So alcohol consumption, smoking, or overwork. Alcohol consumption and smoking have to do with taxing the liver. The liver is this amazing organ that deals with detoxification and also processing hormones. And if it has to do with a lot of alcohol consumption or a lot of additives in the food you eat and everything, maybe it's not gonna be able to deal with hormones, and then they accumulate and something like estrogen dominance could happen. Obesity can also be a cause because adipose tissue, fat tissue, produce hormone, one of them being estrogen. So estrogen dominance will be something we see with obese people, obese women. Stress, we'll talk about that more because it's a big cause of hormonal imbalance. Exercise, intense exercise too often, from the Ayurvedic point of view, that would lead to depletion and also maybe a hormonal imbalance, because when you exercise, you have all these good feeling hormone, dopamine, etc. So maybe too much, like you kind of imbalance, but it's mostly in the point of view of depleting your body. And from the point of view of reproductive hormones, your body will, the reproduction is really when everything else goes well. it has to go well. So if the signals you send to your body with too much exercise is like it's kind of stress over your body, that could be a problem. Autoimmune disorders can affect hormones. One being those that attack the thyroid gland. We'll talk about that a little bit. And diet, if there's a lot of sugar and refined carbohydrates, that makes a lot of sugar in your blood. You have to have a lot of insulin, and there's can be insulin resistant, diabetes, etc. And processed or fried food and unhealthy fats are problematic as well. Hormones need cholesterol to be created by your body, but it needs the good kind. Here we have a few examples of the endocrine disruptors, and unfortunately they are all around us, but we still have power, especially like personal care products. We choose things that are the most natural possible. The cleaning things that you take in your home, also the cleaning products, the choose natural things, vinegar, soap, just that does the job. That you don't need like very harsh and chemical stuff. And plastics, there's phthalates in plastic, and they are endocrine disruptors and estrogenic. And that's one reason why you should never heat your food in a microwave in a plastic container. Just transfer into a ceramic or Pyrex container and you'll avoid there. So try to avoid exposure. How do we balance hormones when we have disruptions and we are not feeling good and the orchestra is not playing a symphony, it's playing a cacophony? Well, there are 4 pillars, and you want a balanced, healthy, and appropriate diet. And from the Ayurvedic point of view, that's this approach for you with your constitution and your imbalance. Not every food is appropriate for everyone, and you also want to adapt to the seasons. But all this good food is nothing if you don't have good digestion. So you also want good digestion. And for that, Ayurveda is also very strong, because everything starts with good digestion with Ayurveda. But you could be trying to work with good digestion and good healthy diet. It's only going to be a band-aid, and it's never going to work if you don't tackle have a healthy lifestyle behind and manage stress, because it's never going to be optimal or balanced without a healthy lifestyle with appropriate exercise and staying active, etc., but also managing stress. Stress, chronic stress. Stress, it's natural. There's nothing wrong with stress. The problem is when it becomes chronic. We have evolved to respond to stressful situation in order to survive. So our brain, the hypothalamus in our brain, sends a signal, okay, there's something, like someone cuts us on the highway, or our ancestor who had to flee because there was a lion pursuing them or something like that. Your brain sends a signal to the adrenals on top of the kidneys. And the first thing, you have an adrenaline response, the fight or flight response. And that's what will give you like super strength, or you're not gonna feel pain, or like everything is, you're so focused. That's adrenaline. And adrenaline does not stay in the blood for very long. But there's also going to be a rush of cortisol, and cortisol, which is involved in metabolism and in general. Well, when there's more of it, it's going to help us to stay alert, increase our senses and focus. but also like everything is going to be directed outward. So the muscle will be tense, the heart will be beating faster, and we want to survive. So everything else becomes secondary. Digestion becomes secondary, reproduction becomes secondary. So if it's just one day or like a few days, it's fine. Our body will come down, but chronic stress is really what's going on. And your body does not distinguish between an attack by a lion or like all the little messages you receive and you being stressed for all these little things of modern life. The result of chronic stress is chronic high level of cortisol in your blood, adrenal fatigue as well. The adrenal, it's not like they can produce hormone and always. It's not infinite. At some point, they will be exhausted. And then there's this problem of not enough cortisol. And burnout would be related to that, and like weight gain, especially around the midsection, are related to adrenal fatigue. Hormonal imbalance as well, because cortisol, if you need so much cortisol and adrenals can't furnish, like they're depleted, progesterone, for example, can serve as a precursor to create cortisol. So your body will take some progesterone to create cortisol. There can be depletion. Some cortisol is catabolic hormone, so depletion in bone tissue, fat tissue, like some people will become super thin, but also on the contrary, they could be weight gain, their body trying to compensate, and this weight gain, especially at the midsection. And there's so many implications with high level of cortisol. And again, cortisol level and stress will affect the thyroid, among other. I think it affects all body processes, but reproductive system for sure, and thyroid. And thyroid has, we know it like the metabolism aspect and control of body temperature, like hypothyroidism. People that have that will have lower body temperature and low metabolism, and maybe will gain weight, but it has impact over many other things: heart rate, breathing, digestion, lipid metabolism, brain development and mental activity. Like someone with hypothyroid will feel foggy and not very alert. Skin and bone maintenance as well. Osteoporosis could be linked to imbalance. Fertility. And stress and cortisol will, because your brain is so occupied in sending signals to the adrenals produce cortisol, like I am not exactly sure what happens, but the TSH, the thyroid stimulating hormone, will be inhibited, like the production. And so the thyroid will go on to not do its proper job. And that's when thyroid troubles happen. And it's not necessarily always the stress that will cause hypothyroidism or hyperthyroidism when things are going too much, but they definitely don't help. And autoimmune diseases, some that affect the thyroid, so Hashimoto's or Graves', they are not necessarily caused by stress. Maybe the stress itself is not necessarily the cause, but definitely stress has an impact overall on autoimmune diseases, and it exacerbates whatever is happening. So we can never be sure if it's really the cause or if it's exacerbate. And now we come to Ayurveda. How can we deal with all these hormonal imbalance naturally? Well, Ayurveda, the science of life and longevity, that's what Ayurveda means, is this constant search for balance with diet and lifestyle. And it's a science of habits. You take good habits that you maintain, throughout your life, and that will help your body maintain homeostasis. Because as I said, the body is this incredible machine that thrives to maintain balance, but what we do and how we treat it can either help or make things more difficult. Ayurveda is a folk medicine. Everybody can practice Ayurveda. And we do to some extent, but sometimes we forget a little bit. We are not really aware of how we feel. We don't pay attention, etc. Ayurveda is this unique approach for every individual. So in all these hormonal imbalance that could happen, not two people have the exact same issue, and not two people with estrogen dominance even would manifest it exactly the same. The symptoms will vary, and the causes will vary, and how we bring balance also varies. So Ayurveda, the idea is to determine someone's constitution. Those of you who are familiar with Ayurveda, you might know your constitution. Are you more Vata, Pitta, or Kapha? Vata is more movement in the body, like air and ether element. Pitta is transformation and heat, metabolism, and Kapha is structure and lubrication. We all have these three energies, but in different proportion, and they will have an impact on and the type of imbalances that we might be prone to. What are your symptoms? What are the patterns of your imbalances? That gives an indication also as to what is your constitution. And then the strength of Ayurveda compared to Western medicine, which is dealing more once the disease has been diagnosed. Ayurveda is all about finding the cause and removing the cause of an imbalance in a disease, and also before getting to the disease stage, let's avoid getting there altogether with prevention. When you get diagnosed with a disease by a Western doctor, you are at stage 5 out of 6 into the disease process according to Ayurveda. All the stages before, you could do something to bring back balance, and it starts very subtle. It's very subtle. Ayurveda considered that everything starts in the digestive system. Little imbalance there, and then that progresses and will manifest all around the body. Ayurveda, how can Ayurveda help? Well, the idea is to bring back balance. That's the whole idea. And for that, it's very important to develop a routine. So Ayurveda can help you develop a routine that will work for you. Develop a personalized diet. Not everything is good for everyone. If you are subject to more depletion and Vata trouble, maybe, for example, very scanty periods for women, then your diet would need to be nourishing and hearty, and but at the same time, you need to digest it well. If you have more like weight gain issues and estrogen dominant, maybe your diet needs to be more on the light side. So all of this depends on everyone. It helps to determine which lifestyle changes would be appropriate and how to develop new habits. And very important, there's many tricks in Ayurveda to help with stress management. Not all of them are Ayurvedic themselves, but many are. Like pranayama is breathing exercises. Deep breathing. You know, when you're stressed, first thing you should do, think about breathing. And one that is very useful in balancing hormones and dealing with stress is alternate nostril breathing. So you inspire in one nostril, expire in the other, inspire, expire, and you do that a few minutes. it's really balancing and it helps overall. Meditation, of course, great for dealing with stress and just being grounded. Yoga, exercises outdoor for many reasons, because natural light will help with the pineal gland and balance the circadian rhythms and help with sleep, but also like just because if that is balanced, everything has a better chance to be balanced. And also outdoor, because the natural world is very pacifying and good for stress, and it's calming, etc. Abhyanga is the self-massage with oil, very calming as well, because you are really soothing so many nerve ending. And Marma points is like acupressure. There's plenty of points, and you can deal with many issues using Marma points, and that can help as well. And Ayurveda, because you're supposed to be able to maintain balance with diet and lifestyle, but sometimes you need a little bit more, and herbal supplements can also be of great help. For example, here, just to balance hormones, I listed a few herbal actions that would help. So if you are dealing with a lot of stress, relaxant and nervines would be useful. Also adaptogens. Adaptogens are great when the adrenals are exhausted. And just like it's in its name, it kind of adapts to whatever the body needs. So licorice root, for example, is an adaptogen. Ashwagandha is an adaptogen. Nervines, it could be as simple as chamomile, for example. Estrogenic and anti-estrogenic herbs, depending on what issues you're dealing with. Same for progesteronic and anti-progesteronic herbs. And some are just great herbs to just balance everything, like licorice root, for example. You might need to stimulate the thyroid or maybe inhibit the thyroid, so depending. Immune modulator, especially if you are dealing with autoimmune diseases, anti-inflammatory herbs, or levotonic and cholagogue if you need to help and support your liver for detoxification and just help your liver do its amazing job of dealing with processing all the hormones and dealing with toxicity in your body. So these are a few things that Ayurveda can do. And just to conclude, the hormonal imbalance can lead to a wide variety of symptoms that can be very confusing because they affect all the body processes, and they can have many causes, but many of them, I would say most of them, we have power over. We can do something about it. Always remember that chronic stress is possibly the worst thing for anyone's health. And learning to manage stress, finding a few tricks to manage stress should be a priority for everyone in maintaining good health. And your body is amazing. It tries to maintain balance, but really you have also the power to help your body, or what you do can make it more difficult. So respect your body, learn what it's trying to tell you, and you can help. And Ayurveda is there exactly for that, to help you make these good dietary and lifestyle decisions that will work for you, and to also recommend herbal supplements if necessary that are very specific to your needs. So that was my presentation. Again, my name is Ariane, Chenard, and my services, I offer individual sessions, but also like balancing digestion. I have this 3 months program and a year-long program to integrate Ayurveda in your life along with the season. It's called Seeking Balance. And here you go. So thank you very much. Thank you for being here. And now I see that there might be a question in the chat.
Beautiful job, Ariane. That was wonderful. Every class you do, I always learn so much, and I really appreciate all the uh, intellectual work that you put into your presentations because you do a balance. But you like with Ayurveda, you bring, so this is the information, and then this is how Ayurveda can help you, and it's just beautiful every time. So thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, Ayurveda can help all aspects because it's really just the idea of helping your body do its job. So you learn about your body by learning what your constitution is and what your imbalances are. And I could show here again. I'll present again. Where is this? I lost my.
I put both of your websites in the chat box. I'm gonna go ahead and put it in the live stream here.
Okay, thank you.
You're
And just another, so Ayurveda, it's this idea that if you take too much of something, you'll create an imbalance. But if you balance it like with opposite qualities, you will help. And yeah, the three doshas, the three vital energies. So yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I have PCOS. PCOS. What supplements do you recommend?
It would be hard for me to just say something because Neri, I don't know anything about you, about Ayurveda does not have like anything that is generalized. So I would need to know more about you. What is your constitution? And like how long has it been going on? And yeah, just I would need to know more about your condition. And then like is it more like, do we have to deal with estrogen or testosterone or both? What are the causes? What, like, it's more complex. I can't say anything just like that. I'm sorry, but Ayurveda, the answer you'll hear the most often is it depends. Because it does. It depends on the person, depends on so
Because
many.
everybody's different.
Yeah, yeah.
I had a question. So, with like hormone tests, they typically only do like the T3 and T4, but there's like free T and free T4. Do you know a little bit more about that? Because it always confuses me when trying to read blood work.
Free tea? I'm not sure I understand your question.
Oh, it's like a free T4, and then there's a free T3, like free. It has this other meaning, and
I know there's the reverse T3.
oh yeah, there's the reverse one too.
Yeah, I'm definitely not an expert on thyroid hormones, but the idea is like T3 is the most powerful and will make T4. And when it's imbalanced, instead of being T3 and increasing metabolism, I think it becomes reverse T3 and it decreases metabolism, but I don't want to get too much into that. But yeah.
Sure. What are your thoughts on maca balancing hormones?
What?
What are your thoughts on maca?
No thoughts at the moment. I would have to. There's so many herbs to balance, and it really depends. Like I'm just looking at this document because I went to see for PCOS for a Neri's question, And so you want anti-testosterone, like you want to lower the level of androgen. And there are a few hormones, like licorice is there again, and there's could be vidanga, but again, it all depends. So I cannot, I can't just suggest any herbs like that. Yeah, there's everyone.
Especially with herbs.
Yeah, everyone would have like their personalized recipe. That's what I do actually. Like I make these formulas because at the end of a consultation, like depending like the protocol, like, okay, we start with this thing and then like we will use these herbs, and then further along the way we need other herbs, and it's really individualized. That's the difference between Western approach and Ayurvedic approach. And you can get some benefits in going and buying a formula that is already made, but it's more generalized. Yeah, it's less for you because no one has everything the same, even for PCOS or thyroid issues. Yeah,
Definitely. Yeah. And yeah, because like what we were saying, everybody's different, and getting to know the person's is if there's any like contra I can't say the word right now, contradictions with
yeah,
medical history, especially with herbs. You have to be so careful if they're on medications. And I think it's more personable and setting more intentions when you're able to um, personalize it and connect with your client and patient.
yeah,
Beautiful.
yeah. That's what Ayurveda is about. Really determining like the needs of one person at a time. And it appears like saying that like there's billions of people on earth, but it's not that complex because we won't enter into that, but you look at the vital energies and the imbalance, what are the patterns, and yeah, you can determine what are the appropriate herbal actions that you look, and then you go and figure out a few herbs, and then would they work, and yeah, that's the process.
It's wonderful. And I did put it in the chat. I've been working with you for almost a year now, I just realized.
Yeah.
And you've helped me so much. And just honoring and listening to what my body needs. I think last time we were talking about how kapha often around this season tends to start to affect me, and you gave me so many great suggestions that I've started implementing, and this is probably the best I felt this season, so thank you.
Good. I'm glad. Yeah.
Oh yeah, so I'm gonna pop on your website real quick and see how can people sign up for that. um and I have a question. It is can someone join the program and then it'll extend to the, like, it'll add on for the next year?
Yeah, the Seeking Balance is you can join anytime. It's for like forever program. It just whenever you join, you do the whole program for a year.
Perfect.
So we are getting closer to the fall equinox, Mabon, yeah, in Celtic history. So,
Mabon.
yeah.
Matt Mabon is almost
Mabon. Yeah, I think all people like Mabon.
I love it. So I just put the direct link to the bookings. Oh, Susan said, thank you. I'm benefiting from what you've taught me and helped me for with me for a few months now. Oh,
Thank you,
thank you for
Susanna.
sharing that, Susan. You're so sweet. Oh, we got a couple more messages.
Okay. Susan asks, can you say more about the year-long program? So seeking balance, it's really the idea of the learning the basic concepts of Ayurveda, but not in one session, very intense. It's throughout the year. So throughout the years, there are seasonal modules that are related to history and things like that. And every month, like there's 8 modules. Let me see. Okay, so I can show you. This is a calendar. It's based on the wheel of the year, and there's 8 traditional holidays, so that there are modules for traditional holidays. And then every month there's a lesson in Ayurveda, so different aspect of Ayurveda that you learn throughout the year.
Oh, Carrie said she's learning a lot too and is very grateful.
Neri asked, what's your opinion on tinctures versus supplements? They are different. Ayurveda traditionally does not use tinctures, but I do. I like tinctures, and I think they have a place. They act differently, very possibly faster. So it depends. Sometimes you might benefit from herbs, sometimes more with tinctures, sometimes it's just tea, sometimes, yeah, again, it depends. Thank you, Carrie.
So sweet. It's so great when
Uh,
clients
Suzanne, the year-long program is you get the module on your own, but there are meetings, seasonal meetings that you can attend. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's great because if you have a question at any time, you will pop on, and to just have that support and that self-paced goals and program, it helps you build healthy habits around
Yeah.
creating balance.
Yeah. I'm just a
So
chat
good.
if you have questions. Yeah.
Okay, what is the cost? It's $8 a month?
Yeah, it's $8 a month.
Which
Yeah.
is like the cost of a Netflix subscription that you forget you have.
Yeah, and then like once you've done the program and you have all this knowledge, well, it's for life, and I think it's worth it. Yeah, I made it like I want it to be accessible for anyone that wants to do it.
And it's great because someone from, all around the world can connect with you, and you're able to assist with that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And let me check here the Facebook Live. See if there's any questions. I don't see any. I'm trying to think. Is this our last class together for this year?
Yes, this year is the last.
Aw.
I'll have
Well,
to
it's
contact you.
it's only goodbye, not it's only see you later. So it's not goodbye forever, because I'm gonna get my calendar book and would love to get you on the calendar for several more.
Yeah, sure. Suzanne asks, yeah, it was each month the meeting, but I'm kind of changing it's gonna be each season, so 8. But if there's demand for more, I'll be happy to do each month. But at the moment, it's like every seasonal change, so 8 times a week, 8 times a year. That would be a bit much. 8 times a yeah. But once you are in the program, if you have questions, you have access to a chat and to me directly. So my pleasure, I can answer questions.
Beautiful. Well, I don't see any questions here on the Facebook Live. I think we'll go ahead and say goodbye to our Facebook Live friends. Thanks, folks, for tuning in. We appreciate you. Definitely check out her websites and programs. And it's great that you're also local here in Tacoma at the lovely Pacific um, Pacific South. I always stutter at it. Pacific Sound Family Health. There we go.
You did sound family health.
Yes, I always want to put a center or like a different word.
Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, Pacific Northwest. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, thank you all for tuning in and have a lovely rest of your evening.
Thank you. Thank you both.